Cabo. Share life for your need. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. We pray that you and your families are blessed, are safe, as usual. I am OYOTUNJI Jaminire.
I am OYOTUNJI Tegoshe.
And you were tuned into
the best,
the greatest
podcast
on the planet Earth.
Let's talk IFA.
Ashe, why?
I want more nya.
Ashe,
Ekabo. I want more duduwa.
Ashe,
I want more karojire.
Ashe.
Ekabo. We are back.
We are back.
We are here.
Welcome to another episode of Let's Talk IFA. We give thanks and praise in the name of Olodumare. Today, we are going to cover the topic of the reading of the year that was done by the Owls at OYOTUNJI Kingdom. Today, we're going to cover, so at OYOTUNJI, there's a reading of the year done for the world. There's one done for the United States, for African Americans, and for OYOTUNJI Kingdom itself. So today, we're just going to go over and cover the reading of the year for the Adifafun Ileaye, the divination for the world.
So as we get into it, the world, as we know it, is going through a lot of changes. There's a lot of things happening in the world. And so every year we consult IFA to see what the world will be experiencing for that year. So for 2025, we did divination, Adifafun Ileaye, and the ruling Odu, or the Olori Odu, that was cast was Irete Otora. Irete Otora. Esekan Ola is the alias name of this Odu. And so, as we see for the world with this Odu, Ifa says this can be a year of blessings for the world. Ifa says to be active and in position for opportunities for the world. So the world received Ire of long life, Ire Aiku of long life for the world. And so this is also a year to associate with people outside of your community, outside of your ile, outside of your household. You know, people should connect with other people. This is how the world will have its longevity and won't be stuck in that mode of people saying, well, I'm just staying to myself and I'm just staying inside my ile and I'm not associating with nobody. I'm to myself, because we see these things happening in the world where people are losing hope and people want to just be alone and be to themselves and they don't want to deal with people. But Irete Otura says, actually, this is the year where people should begin to socialize with people of other cultures, other groups. It's more like a learning lesson. You get to learn from people of other cultures. You get to learn from other people that's initiation, but do things a little different. You know, and so the world with Irete Otura is giving us that blessing. Don't stay stuck within yourself. You know, as the saying goes, don't just rely on your own wisdom. You know, rely on wisdom from others. Ashe. And so,
another good point from this Odu is saying that we have to set an example for those that are coming behind us. This is a very important year to establish the foundations and the institutions that will allow us to, you know, set the precedent and the example for the youth, for the generations that are coming up behind us. So for us in, let's say, Ishe, Ifa, Orisha, whatever, in the culture in general, this reading is for the world, but we're of the world. So we're, we are likening this or relating this to where we fit in the world. So what that means for us is that it's important for us to get this school established, to get the priesthood council reestablished for training and setting up systems and institutions that will help to perpetuate what we are doing for the long term, for sustainability, for the long haul, like for after we are gone. Because the young ones, they have to start training and learning and doing things now. Can't wait until the last minute to do that. So,
and this is a year of seeing new leaders come out. Those with great leadership ability will help to establish the things that we really need. With Ivetel Torah, institutions is very important. IFA institutions are very important. Educational institutions, as you stated, are very important. Business institutions are very important. This is the year where the world will begin to realize these things, because there's a lot going on, and the humans, Inya, are now starting to wake up. This whole thing with racism and all of that is beginning to, people starting to look down on those things, and people of other cultures are learning to link up and learn each other's language, learn each other's way of life, and begin to respect, your fellow human being, and learn from them. So this Odu is a big Odu of that. Is Esekan Allah, let's take our time when we're moving towards wealth. Because wealth is just not finances. Wealth is learning how to even just connect with people. Resources is a big form of wealth. And so this Odu speaks about those things. Abatala speaks heavy in this Odu as well. And so we know that Obatala always, gives us the opportunity to elevate ourselves, to elevate our minds, to progress, to be more mature, And so Obatala with this Odu, from what I'm seeing in this Odu, is Obatala's energy is saying, the world needs to be more mature. At this time, the world needs to be more mature. Ifa says this is a historical year. This is the year that we make up for the mistakes of last year. So the mistakes of last year, this is the time to make up for those mistakes. All of the mistakes that was done last year, 2024. 2025 is giving us the opportunity to mature. This is maturity again. It's giving us the opportunity to mature. Betel Torah is also the Odu of Iwa, of character. Part of character is not just being into yourself. Is learning to get along with others. Is learning, is communicating with others, and learning how to socialize for other people. This is a good Odu for the world, because it sets the world up for wealth, for prosperity, for elevation. People do, in a way, humans do have to look at themselves and reorganize themselves and organize their life. Once you do those things, you won't be afraid to socialize with others, because you will have pride about what you're doing. You don't have to be in fear and in your own shell because you think somebody is going to judge you. no, you do have to work on yourself. And so this is a year where there's a time where you have to kind of like be to yourself to get yourself together. So when you step out in the world, you prepare. When you link with others, you're prepared. You're consciously aware of what's going on. You have pride in yourself, so you don't have to be scared to socialize with other people.
Benny. IFA says, to piggyback on what Baba was saying, this year it's important for people in the world, like you said, to work together. You can't, in order to make it and to make it better out here, we have to work together and do more things together as a community. Because if you look and you see what's going on with the inflation and rents and mortgages and interest rates and
everything
the food
going up,
the prices and the quality of the food, it's like it's getting harder and harder to try to make it out here just on your own, as everybody in their own individual, your family, and you got a house, you paying $2,000 in rent or mortgage plus all the bill. We already know what everybody bills generally is, speaking, grown people.
Yeah.
Then you got your family over here. That's another $2,000 with your set of bills, and you over here, and you over here, and you over here, and you over here. We have to come together and pool our resources together to ease the burden of the financial burden, all the burdens,
So like carpooling is a good thing, all of the things that'll help save money.
Yeah.
And so the community has to come together more. And I think when the inflation gets higher and higher, it forces people to have to come together.
We're forced.
You're forced to survive, and you got to rely on your neighbor and so on. And so I think what this Odu is kind of saying, that people in the world are beginning to understand, like, what's going on, how the governments are controlling everything, and people are beginning to really see that, okay, we have to rely on ourselves.
Yeah,
we have to rely on each other.
Self-reliance.
We have to rely on community. We have to, and so schools are very important because, people have separated themselves from people. So now, and I think what Irete Otura is saying is, this is a year for people to start coming back more together and relying on each other. So all of this division has to stop, and be more collective. Egbe is big in this Odu. Egbe is about collectivity.
Yeah, they all.
Egbe is about collectivity. And so that's what the world has to begin to you're going to start seeing this year a lot of groups. You may see some good groups pop up to do some good things, and then you're going to see the opposite side of that as well. You may see some extreme groups come together.
Well, that's coming. Your homeboy Trump in office now, so you're going to see a lot of that. It's going to be a very interesting year. In the next 4 years, it's going to be very interesting, and that's one effect. The Trump effect on the positive side is that, from what I've noticed, is that we usually come together a little bit more when he's in office, because we know the others on the other side, they get pumped up, and we know that they're together. So it's like
the extremists.
Black people, so we seem to stick together a little more because we have that. Like, it's like, all right, we kind of know who the enemy is again on the other side of the coin, with all those that certain element that backs Trump. You know, we all know who we're talking about. You know what I'm saying? So Ifa also says in this Odu that, leaders have to get off of their high horse, and they have to learn to become good followers and good servants so that they can become better leaders. This is a year of humbling yourself, and because the ones that's try to kind of perpetuate that I'm high and mighty and holier than thou, and I'm the baddest godparent, and you gotta, like, they're gonna, when you prop yourself up to be that big, it's just a long way to go when you fall down.
Mm-hmm.
So if I is saying to you're in a position of leadership, to lead from a position of service and humility, because if not, there'll be consequences. And also the reading coming in Ire, a lot of times people get a false sense of security because they see the reading come in Ire. But
yeah, that just means you got work to do.
You have to listen to the advice of Ifa and do, all the sacrifices that are necessary, because it's Ire Aiku, seeing Ire of long life. But the opposite side of that is, a life that's cut short if people don't follow the advice and the directives of spirit, of what spirit is saying, for this year. So don't get complacent, and think that it's all good because it's in Ire. Ire Aiku means making sacrifice for longevity.
Got to do the work.
You got to do
the necessary work in order to get the longevity, to get the long life. You got to make the sacrifice. And it's not just, we know you got to make the airball, of course. However, you also got to make sacrifices.
Mm-hmm.
And part of those sacrifices for leaders is to sacrifice your ego and listen to your students.
Mm-hmm.
Sacrifice your ego and allow room from wisdom from the outside to come in and accept it and just be humble.
Banny.
Show humility. Don't think you the top dog in front of your students when you see another elder or another priest come in and you start feeling a little shaky, because you think they're going to take your people.
Mm-hmm.
No, this is the time to welcome other leaders in and dialogue and share wisdom. Don't be insecure. Ivete Otura speaks a lot about the priest too. And this is a year with Ivete Otura, people do have to respect their priest. People should respect the priest because by respecting the priest, a lot of blessings is going to come. So for those priests who are doing the proper work,
that's the key right there.
Who are doing the proper work, respect them. Don't respect the ones who looks like they doing the job and they look the part,
right?
But they really not doing the part. Because we do see a lot of that as well. We see a lot of priests who is unethical priests, but they got a lot of people, they get a lot of respect, but they're really not doing the job. And then the priests who are really of service, they don't get the respect that's due. And so this is a year where you have to give respect where respect is due. Leaders, again, listen to your students, make room for wisdom from outside of your ile or outside of your camp to come in and just be humble and accept it and be grateful.
Yes, it's a serious Odu. Ifa also speaks of protection from some illnesses that are going to be out. It's already out here. You got COVID going around now. You got the flu. You got this respiratory virus and something else. I forgot the name of it, but
all kinds of stuff is out here.
You got a lot of stuff going around. A lot of people getting sick. This Odu talks about protection from sudden death and illness. Right, Ireti Otua is a serious Odu. So please stay on top of your health. Your spiritual health, your mental and physical health, your emotional health. Try as best as you can to stay on top of those things. Eat natural foods, take your bitters and your herbs and your soursop and your moringa and your vitamins and your black seed oil and like all of those things. And Ifa says that, we will be protected from early death, protected from sudden death, protected from, a life cut short or interrupted by a major illness. Ifa talks about, like Baba alluded to earlier, working together for, like Baba said, with wealth, and not just material wealth, but, working together more. It's a good year for traveling. It's a good year to make new connections, and for new connections for our benefit. That's going to benefit us. And kind of like Baba said, get outside of your comfort zone. This is the year to get outside your box, get outside of your comfort zone, travel somewhere that wherever you've been wanting to travel, this is a good year to go and travel there and make connections, be friendly, be outgoing and networking and those type of things. There'll be a lot of blessings that come from those type of activities outside of the places that you normally, go and the things that you normally do.
Sure. With hard work and dedication, the world can be repaired. With hard work and dedication, the world can be repaired. This is an Odu of being dedicated to your work, dedicated to the works of IFA, dedicated to whatever skill set you have, being dedicated to your work, especially in the areas of healing, especially in the areas of education, especially in the areas of business, especially in the areas of communication and socializing, and building together, working together. This is a good year where, people can have retreats and things like that. Invite people to your retreats and things of that sort. Open up, whatever you do, open it up for the public. Don't just pick certain people that you want to bring and just leave it like that. No, open it up to the public, so that people can come, because the world right now needs healing. Look at the state of people today. Look at the pressures of people. You got people who got to work 3 jobs just to pay their rent, take care of their kids, and have a little time to have some type of happiness. But there's people out here struggling. And a lot of this mental illness, also comes from a lot of weight that people are carrying. You know what I mean? A lot of people are carrying weight, and people are breaking because they just can't handle that load. And so this is a year to lighten your load and ask for help. Ask for assistance. Don't try to do it all on your own. Women should not try to raise all of the kids on their own. Open up to getting married.
Especially if you got boys.
This is the year, because, women who got children, if you don't have a husband, how where you gonna find the help from? Don't be afraid to open up and get married. You know what I mean? Because that is an institution. Marriage is an institution. But if you need help, for those women out there that's saying, I can do it all by myself, you can't do it by yourself. We know you can't do it by yourself. Don't say you can do it by yourself. If your last relationship didn't work out, don't be afraid to open up to get another relationship until you get it right. That's part of the sacrifice as humans that we make. You're not going to come across everybody that's going to fit your needs. But you continue that journey, you persevere, and you will find somebody that both of you all can work together. But family is very important in this Odu in Irete Torah, because it is an institution, and it's an institution that works if you allow it to work.
Another thing Ifa says in Irete Torah is very key and important. It says that the key to longevity is to do not fight over things that do not matter. Do not fight or argue or over worry about things that simply do not matter. Now, the problem is a lot of people might hear this, but then they don't have the ability to discern between the things that do not matter and the things that do matter. Facebook, does not matter. Instagram does not matter.
But if you're doing business or something,
if you're doing business,
and you're doing some positive things on these social networks,
right?
Then and you're trying to build a community that's going to do something.
Use it for that, and that's it.
But if you're using it to just show your body all day and to do all of these movements and and stare in the camera to try to draw or suck somebody in,
I don't understand. I don't understand what they're trying to draw me into. I'm so confused by all the.
Yeah, though.
I don't get it. Like, I don't understand. What are we doing? Is it for sale? Are you advertising something? Like, are you just trying to make yourself feel better? Like, I don't get it.
If you're doing it, I think if you're doing it too many times.
I don't understand, bro.
If you're doing it too many times,
love y'all.
Advertising.
I love y'all. I love y'all, but I don't understand.
Yeah, but kind of use it because these young ladies out here, and I'm trying to just stick with the Odu itself and stay on topic. But
now it's important.
It's important because again, it's institutions that these institutions like these female institutions and these male institutions, you got to have these institutions together to help train these young ladies and these young males. Rites of passage.
It's on the way.
To guide them right, because these devices,
they don't know what matters.
The devices seems to be educating these young females and these young males.
Miseducating.
It's a miseducation, of course, but it seems to be educating them in the wrong way.
Yeah.
And they're not getting the proper things needed to be a man or to be a woman. They don't even know. They don't know what that means. You know what I mean?
They don't know what it means.
You can't type in on YouTube, how do you become a female, a woman? That's something that a computer can't teach you.
It's gonna be a BBL, some eyelashes,
a fake
some wigs. It's gonna be a whole bunch of crazy stuff.
And so these African institutions or whatever institutions that are needed, it's so important. The education system right now is under attack, and
it's been decimated.
It's done.
We got good teachers out there. I'll shout out to all our great teachers that's in the school fighting the fight.
But they can't do too much because they got a board that they got to answer to, and a board that tells them teach this. But it's not given. It's not. Look at if you go to these schools and see how these young people act, it's how they speak to their teachers. Sad. It's like they don't even get that. They don't even get that at home now. Waking up in the morning and speaking to your parents properly, and then when you go to school, you greet your teacher. They don't even know how to greet their teachers. They're not getting these basic things. They're not getting these basic codes of conduct.
And it shortens your life. When you walk around here worried about stuff almost all day, half the day, whatever. You only got 24. You got to sleep, you got to eat, you got to bathe, you got to do all them things. You got to work, whatever. You don't really have a whole lot of time in the day to be wasting a bunch of time or to be worried about a bunch of stuff that doesn't matter. And that's the problem, is that when you talk to people, it's their perception of what matters. I can say this to somebody and some people, it won't do them any good because they don't understand what matters and what doesn't matter. Other people's opinion of you, especially on social media, it don't matter. It doesn't. It just does not. Y'all spend all the half the day with a text war, going back and forth with somebody on the text or going back and forth with somebody on the post or whatever. And how is that helping you?
Yeah, they be trying to draw me into them little text social media war. Because I be seeing stuff sometimes. I be like, oh my God, I gotta say something because this is. Why would they even put this up there?
And sometimes, you might want to chime in, but I'm saying the moderation is the key. And some of y'all are ODing on stuff that
doesn't matter.
So the key again,
you ain't busy enough.
You're not busy. You're not busy enough. The key to longevity is not fighting or arguing or worrying about things that just don't matter. It don't matter.
Yeah, it's not helping with nothing.
People's opinion of you, that's their business. That's not your business.
Yeah, but like I said earlier, if you get out of yourself and you're open to socializing, and I'm not just saying socialize on your phone or on your computer.
That's not socializing.
I'm saying, actually being in a group surrounded by people when you all are talking, get out of yourself. Because when you lock yourself in yourself, you can. There's nothing wrong with being in a place of solitude to get yourself together and connecting with spirit, connecting with ancestors, connecting with your egbe. See, you connecting with ancestors, you connecting with your egbe, you connecting with your orisha. Those are forces that you're connecting with. But when you lock yourself in yourself and you just you're trying to you become self-absorbed into yourself, you kind of create an ego of yourself, right? So then when somebody says something about you, you just go all out because you done built this false image of who you are. And then now somebody attacks you on social media, let's say. And so you just go all out ham and start posting all kinds of stuff because now you done created this false image of who you are and who you think you are. So now you start lashing out on platforms that really doesn't matter instead of saying, well, let me go talk to that person and see what they mean.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Benny.
What are they talking about? That's where people have become today. The devices here have become a gun.
Yeah.
It becomes a weapon of mass destruction.
People die over these things.
Yeah. Like
PNB Rock. You sit up, you can make a video that'll get you killed tomorrow. Pop Smoke, the list goes on and on and on and on and on. You could get on this thing and go on live and literally do something on here that will cause your life to end. Or cause problems in your life or your marriage or your job. Or I know plenty of people, especially the young people, they're getting fired left and right for stuff that they doing on
their phone.
On the phone, on social media.
They get fired from their job for getting busted being on the phone.
Doing lives at the job and got customer information all in the background. Fired. It's a place and a time for everything, right? And we're not going to drain the swamp on this. We're not going to go through all the Odu, but we will touch on the main three. Olori Odu, the main Odu is Ireti Otua. Second Odu is, we definitely need to touch on this, Odi and Osa. Odisa.
Odisa, Ire. This is the Ire for the year.
The women.
The women are very important.
Touch on this.
It says in Odisa, women are very important for bringing Ire this year. Unity of women will be helpful. Women must use their natural feminine energy wisely. Please. And we're not throwing shade on our ladies because we have some beautiful, responsible women out here. But sometimes, and we know our women are very powerful. Very powerful women. But sometimes that power can be used irresponsibly to take advantage of a situation or dominate a situation. And so this is why when Ifa says women, elder women, the elder women
Benny.
have to, the more experienced women, the more experienced mothers have to take control and lead the young ladies down the proper road.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The more experienced elderly women have to step in now, because the younger feminine energy, because of technology, as we were saying earlier, and just not being raised properly, they got all of this power and this energy, but there's no institutions where it can be channeled so they can use it to learn to use it responsibly.
Right.
You know, they got this, the feminine power is very powerful.
Benny.
But when it's not in balance, when it's extreme and it don't have anything to channel it through,
Benny,
it becomes scattered. It can become destructive. And so Odisa says that energy has to have some place where it needs to rest and be used wisely so that it's stable.
And we're talking about the women, but we're also talking about, you know, female or feminine energy. So this also applies to men. Men have to get control of our feminine energy, right? Which is our emotions. That's for men and women. Got to tap in.
Tap in.
We have to have a cool head. OD. OD. The priest of the head. Ori.
Ori tutu.
Our Ori has to be cool. We have to be cool-headed. It's not weak. It's not submissive. We're not talking about that. We're talking about wisdom. Because if you don't have a cool head, you can't be wise. You can't be a wise person if you don't have a cool head.
Sure.
That's the beginning. That's the part of it, right? Now we're back to Obatala again. You cannot, you cannot be a wise, knowledgeable, respectable person without having a cool head, without having, you know, good character. So it's talking about the feminine energy, but also really important, it is the women coming together this year and getting control of any emotions that need to be handled, having a cool head, starting to work more amongst each other. You know, on Dio's side, you have, you know, Iami, you have Egbe there, you have the feminine energy there. And it's talking about, like Baba said, the elder women have to really kind of come together and help. Like we said, everything is interconnected. So everything we said from the last Odu flows into this Odu. So it has to come together to help bring the community and the women together, rites of passage, and, you know, teaching and handing things down to the women so they can make better use, some women, so they can make better use of their powers, you know, of their energy. You know, so,
and not use it to gossip or slander anybody's name,
right?
Make up stuff to slander somebody, you know, because you ain't got nothing on them, so you make up stuff to slander them. These are all of the things that we don't need to do. And I'm not just saying the women, but we, as male and female energy, these are the things that we need to avoid in this Odisa, because then it's going to come with problems if we do that. But Odisa, the good aspects of Odisa, you know, is, you know, unity and being more firm and stable with the energy that we have, so that that energy is not destructive, but it's constructive.
Ben.
You know, Odisa, when I see Odisa, I also look at the masculine and feminine energy coming together to build community, through socializing, through working through problems and conflicts, finding resolutions and solutions to solving problems. All of those things when we come together and we can dialogue,
conflict resolution,
and when we can dialogue,
right.
and put everything out on the table, and then we can start saying, okay, we need to, reorganize. We need to that's building.
And sometimes you just got to agree to disagree and keep moving and keep going for the benefit of the whole.
Right.
Because a lot of what happens is everybody get upset and get somebody say something, and then there's words exchanged, and then the women be done with each other.
Yeah, they
done.
Yeah,
for life.
Like they and that's what ODSI is saying is like those types of things. You can't, just because you had one agreement,
one little run in.
That means if you had one little run in and then you say it's over, that means you really didn't want to get together in the first place.
Benny.
But you're trying to come together because maybe the men complained about women ain't coming together enough. So you say, okay, we're going to try it. We're just going to try it to show the men we can come together. But when you
it's like
disagree,
they be looking for something to jump off.
Right. So you can say, I told you so. I don't want to be. I ain't messing with them no more. Done. And so the one thing the women got to understand is that the women, the culture doesn't run without you all. The institutions does not run without your cooperation.
Benny.
When the women are not involved in the system that's forming, that system is not going to form.
Not fully.
It's not going to become anything. So the women have to understand, yes, you are well needed.
Desperately
needed. But don't use that desperately being needed as a way to say, well, we know we desperately need it. And so, if y'all don't do this, that, and the other, we ain't going to do nothing.
Yeah.
These are the things, this is the immaturity
Benny.
of what the old dudes are saying. No, you got to know what's the feminine energy's responsibility to community, to institutions, to nation.
Benny.
What are those responsibilities? We know you don't just have babies. And no, your women, at one time in the world, women did a whole lot. They did even more than the men in those ancient times. They did. Women had a lot of responsibilities. And so the women, you are very, very important to the foundation of culture. And this is what ODSI is saying. This is an Odu that brings the blessings and the fruit of the womb. By women having children, the responsibility is to make sure those children are educated. Women run the school system. The men build the facilities, but the women run the school system. The women push the men to get the things that they need.
Right.
So that the education,
so that they can do what
they do. The elevation and the evolving of education can become more greater. The women are the ones that push them in. They say the men build the nations, the women preserve the nation, the children become the nation.
I say.
And so the women are the ones that push the men.
Yeah.
Not down them, not try to break them, but no, give them that energy. Cook healthy food for your husband so that he can be strong enough to do the job. He can be well, his health is well enough so that so when you push him, he can take care of business. But if you're feeding him bad food, he ain't gonna be able to cooperate right. He ain't gonna be able to be motivated. And you gotta give, and so even with the conversation to your husband, have healthy conversations. Don't break him down.
and vice versa.
And vice versa. Men, please don't break your woman down.
It's a it's a two-way street, because when men do that, now they tapping into the negative side of their feminine energy. You understand what I'm saying?
Overly emotional and temperamental, and they then become physically abusive and
all of that.
These are the things that Odisa says for the men to not do. Don't do that.
The women still carry a lot of responsibility and do so many things.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like this Odu is saying, okay, let's come back together now. More the older women with the younger women and all the women working together in a way that, in a different way now. More camaraderie, more sisterhood, more, togetherness and cohesiveness. Because what, I think a lot of women don't understand is, I think, the more together women are, the more powerful they become. And you have to use that energy and that force for good. You know what I'm saying? So when y'all are united, y'all are already strong now, but when that unity is there, it's an unstoppable force. Because what is a man, or what is men what are they gonna try to do when y'all are like together like that?
United, and you're right.
There's nothing. Everybody has to be on their square. You know what I'm saying? So that leads us to the third Odu, and we'll probably stop here.
Yeah,
which is the main reading.
These are the main three.
Yeah, the main three. So the third Odu is Otudupan Obara. It's this Odu Ifa talks about the importance of the cultural traditions and ancestral traditions. Without that, it would lead to a lot of confusion. It also talks about to bring the energy from the first and the second Odu in the context, talks about arrogance and big-headedness. Again, we're going back to that. It warns, against those things. And it warns about power struggles, titles, those type of things. Ifa is warning against this arrogance and this big-headedness, and I'm the such and such of such and such and the such and such, and what are you really doing? If I will expose those people this year that are just walking around with all these titles and all these clothes and beads on, and saying, acting and fronting basically, and really aren't doing anything in the community or in the world to help people.
The alias name of this Odu is Otudupan Odara.
Otudupan Odara.
Eshu Odara. Order issue. So, and this being the Ayewo is cross-examination. These are the things that we have to pay close attention to. It's like, Otudupan Odara, we cannot neglect Eshu this year. Eshu is going to give us those opportunities to get it together. Eshu is going to give us those opportunities to solve our problems. Otudupan Obara, as the Babalawo said, let's not be arrogant. Let's not think that we're bigger than Olodumare, or bigger than the ancestors, or bigger than the Irumale or the Orisha. Let's not think those things. We are servants to them. And so we have to be of service. I think Eshu is going to remind people this year that, no, you really a servant. You're a servant to the powers that's higher than you. And what they tell you to do, what the ancestors say you have to do, you have to do. We have to play, we can't ignore the messages from the ancestors. We cannot ignore the messages from the Orisha. We have to pay close attention to what they're saying this year. If we can do that, we can survive through this this Ayewo that Otudupono Bara is bringing. You know, we can't blame others for what we have done. We have to take responsibility for the decisions that we make.
Accountability.
Accountability. You can lose, in this Odu, you can lose property. You can lose inheritance because you're not following the customs and traditions that your ancestors have left for you to follow. You can lose a lot of things. You can lose your money, finances, your businesses can fall apart. You know, all of the things that you accomplish, those things can fall apart because you're not paying attention to what Spirit has said to you. You know what I mean? Or to the point of Odara. So Odara is in here, Eshu Odara. We have to, you know, the world have to understand Eshu this year. You can't neglect that energy because it's Eshu that brings all of us together. Everything that we talked about, institutions, socializing, communication, owning things, all of these things, it's the power of Eshu that brings all of this together. So to the point, Ondara warns us of not allowing our arrogance to get in our egos to get so big.
The power drunk.
Like we a king.
Yeah. This will be the year of exposure for the power drunks.
Yeah. They're gonna get it.
Yeah.
Because they think they're higher than their ancestors. You know, you can't defeat Ogboni.
I say. Onile, Edan.
These are you can't defeat them. You can't try to impose your will on people who are doing the job of the ancestors.
I say.
You can't impose your will. If this is the way they want it, this is the way it is. So you just become a servant of it. But when you start trying to fight against those who are doing the works of the ancestors, then the ancestors are going to whoop your butt. The ancestors are going to handle it because they're going to say, how dare you try to come and alter what we have put in place? They're not going to let it happen. So, to the point of Dara, those people who have that ego, or those people that think they're going to dominate and take the authority and be the ruler, and it's not going to happen because the ancestors, that's not what they want.
It's not going to happen, though.
It's not going to happen.
I say. So that is the summary of the reading of the year for the world. Difa fun, the dafa for the ile aye.
Difa fun aye.
The reading of the year for the world from OYOTUNJI Kingdom.
Odun 2025.
So we give thanks and praise in the name of Olodumare. This has been another episode. I am IFA Jaminire.
I am IFA Tegunshe.
And you are tuned into
the best,
the greatest
podcast
on the planet Earth.
Let's talk IFA.
Ashewa. Odabo for now. Agboato Asuri Wori Wofun. Ashe.